Hello everyone, welcome to EtechFactory. So in this video, we'll actually discuss about another problem that can be asked in your Selenium and Java interview. So now first thing is why these kind of problems are asked in an interview. So the main purpose is to see your problem solving skills. So now let us see how this problem can be solved in an interview in a stepwise. So now, before going into this problem deeply, we have to keep few things in our mind. First thing is we have to understand the problem completely, and if you have any doubts on those problem, you have to clarify with the interviewer. Do not assume anything on any of the inputs, and then you go ahead with the logic for that. Now, here are some of the different steps that you have to take care in order to solve these kind of problems. First thing is, as I said, you have to understand the problem and see what are the inputs that are provided by the interviewer. Then explain the logic to execute this particular problem statement and see whether that logic is actually satisfied for the interviewer. If the interviewer is satisfied, then go ahead with the same code to execute the same thing in the system and get the expected output. Now I hope we are all clear with the points that we have to take care before solving the problem. Now let us see the problem statement. So the problem statement here is we are supposed to identify the even and odd numbers between 1 to 15 and display them individually. Now let us see the input that will be provided is the input of numbers, that is from 1 to 15, so that we have to store it in an array. And as you all know, the expected output is going to be a simple one here. So you're supposed to store the even numbers in a separately and odd numbers separately. So the even numbers are going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Similarly, the odd numbers are going to be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. So here your program should go to this input of numbers, that is, it has to traverse through each of this number and identify whether which number is even and which number is odd, and it has to store it in a separate array. So we have understood the problem. Now let's go for the logic part.
Okay, so now as we have seen the problem statement, so our statement is going to be identifying the even and odd numbers in the sequence of this array numbers whatever that we have. So let us take an array 1, a1 equals, and the number is going to be from 1 to 15 I am going to take. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 14, 15. Okay, so this will be my input where I'm going to send this array of numbers from 1 to 15, and my code has to identify the even numbers and the odd numbers. So if you take, the output is going to be this one. So let us take even is going to be an array list, and I want to display these even numbers in an array list, and I want to display the same odd numbers in another array list. So even, and the output will be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and the odd number array list is going to have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. Okay, so this will be my output. So I am supposed to write a code now which is going to get two array list. In one array list it is going to store all the even numbers, and in the other array list it will store all the odd numbers. Okay, so now let us see the code for the same. So before starting the actual logic of this program, I want to just initialize two array lists for the output. So one is for the even numbers, the other one is for the odd numbers. So I'm just going to create just a pseudo code. I'm not following the actual syntax. There is going to be array list of integer e1 equals new array list. Similarly, I'm going to create one more array list. I'm going to initialize, which is going to be of type integer and is O1 equals new array list. Okay, so I have two array list which is E1 and O1. So now the next thing is I'm supposed to create a loop. The reason for the loop is I'm supposed to traverse through this each and every element in this array and check whether this element is an even number or an odd number. So to do that, I'm going to create a for loop and initialize I equals 0, I less than the array length, then increment I. So I'm going to start my loop here. And now what is the logic to identify whether a number is even or not? We are supposed to divide it by 2 and check the remainder. If the remainder is equal to 0, then that is an even number. If it is not equal to 0, that's going to be an odd number. So now I'm going to store the result by creating a variable called result, and the type is going to be integer. Here I'm going to take the first number. So for that I'm going to do a1 of I is the index that I have taken here. So I'm going to use the percentage symbol. This percentage symbol is going to actually divide and get the remainder. So divide percentage symbol by 2. So whatever the number is there, so divide it by 2 and get the remainder of it. That remainder is stored in this result. Okay, so now the next thing is I am supposed to check whether that result is equal to 0 or not. For that I am going to use if condition result equals 0. If this is true, then I am going to add that particular number to my array list, which is going to be used for the even numbers, that is E1. So I am going to do E1 dot add. So add is a method which is used to add any element to an array list. So I am going to add A1 of I. So I am going to close this condition. Now the next thing is, if it is not equal, what is the case? So it is going to be else loop, else condition, sorry. In this I am going to do O1 dot add of A1 of I. That means if the result is equal to 0, add it to an even, that is the even number array list. If it is not equal to 0, consider that as an odd number and add it to the odd number array list. Now I am going to end this conditions. I am going to end this loop also here. Okay, so now let us see how it is going to get executed. So first thing is, here I am going to get I of 0. So I of 0 is equal to 1. So now here it comes, 1 divided by 2 is going to be 0.5 and the remainder is not 0 there. So at that point, here result is going to have a non-zero number and it is going to compare it with 0. Since this is not going to get equal, it will add it to the odd number array list. So our one of the array list, which is O1, is going to get added with 1. Similarly, it goes to the next index. When it gets incremented here, the next number is going to be 2. So now 2 divided by 2 and the remainder is 0 here. It is going to check whether this result is equal to 0. Result is 0. So at that time it goes inside and it adds the same number to the even array list. So my even array list is going to get 2. Similarly, when this iteration continues till this a1 dot length is achieved, till this boolean condition becomes true, this boolean condition becomes false. At that time the output is going to be 1 3 5 7 9 11 13 15. So it is going to have all these things. Similarly, in even array list, it is going to have 2 4 6 8 10 12 14. So this will be my output. Okay, so now the next thing, we have written this code. Now the next thing is, what are the different concepts we have learned by executing this problem statement. So as usual, I always say that we have learned Java basics here, because whatever the code that we have written is all Java basics. Then operators, loops, conditional statements, then array list. So here let us see what are the things now. So whatever that we have learned, by this we have acquired the Java basics. And the next thing is the operators. We have actually used our percentage symbol, which is going to get us the remainder, and we have used our comparison operator here, so that is going to get us the operators here. Now the next is loop. We have used for loop here, because of that we have learned the loops condition here, sorry, loops concept. The next thing is the conditional statements, where we have actually gone through about the if and else part. So it is going to have the conditional statements. And the array, our input is in the array, and we have actually seen how to traverse through this each and every element of an array with the help of this method a1.length, which is going to get us the size, and we are going to put it in the for loop. And the next thing is going to be an array list, where we have seen this method called add, which is going to be adding a new element into an array list. So we have learned all these concepts in this particular problem statement. Now after all these things, we are going to get this output. Okay, now let us execute the same code, whatever that we have written here, in our IDE, and see whether we are going to get the same output or not. Okay.
Okay, guys. So we will start our execution. We'll start our execution for the same problem logic, problem what we have actually seen. So the problem statement is we are supposed to identify the even and odd numbers from the number ranging from 1 to 15. So for that we have seen the logic. Now we will see the execution of the same. So for this I am using IntelliJ IDE here, and I have created a project called interview questions execution. So in this you can see here there's a package called Java interview questions, and there's a class file called interview question 1, so which is our previous interview question execution. So now I'll create one more class file called Java class, and I'll name it as interview question 2. Okay, so now once you create this class file, it will not contain any main method or anything. So in order to create the main method in IntelliJ IDE, the shortcut is psvm. So if you type psvm and enter, you will get the main method here as public static void main. So in this main method, we will actually put our method which we are going to execute, and we will call that. So after this, we are going to create one more method, public static void. So I'll name this as find even and odd numbers. Okay, so this is going to be my method name, and in this, so we are going to write our logic. To start with, we should be having a array of numbers. So the array of numbers will be from 1 to 15. So for that we are going to create an integer array for this. So this is how we are going to create the integer array. So int open bracket and a close bracket, which will indicate it's an array, and I'm going to call that array as a1 equals. So in this I am supposed to enter the numbers from 1 to 15. So let's put the numbers 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. Okay, so now our input contains number ranging from 1 to 15. So once this is done, our input is created. Now we are supposed to use this input, and we are supposed to create two lists, that is, one is the even number list and the other one is the odd number list. For that we need two more array list here. So one we are going to call it as even number list, and the other one is going to call it as odd number list. So I'll create the array list now. So to create that array list, you type and the type is going to be integer of this, and I'm going to name this as even number list equals new array list. Okay, so now my even number list is done. So similarly I am supposed to create one more array list, which is a odd number list. So do not type anything, just use a shortcut called command D. So it is going to create one more duplicate line. So in that you can actually just rename that particular array list. So I'm going to rename it as odd number list. So once this is done, our two array lists are created. Now we are supposed to create a for loop which will does the operation and which will actually compare the outputs. So for that I am going to create one for loop here. So it will be started with initialization. So I'm going to create int I equals 0 and I less than this array of length, then I increment, that is I plus plus. So in every iteration, so it is going to increment by 1 and it is going to go for each and every element in this array and it will compare the output. So now we have to do the operation here. The operation is going to be, we are going to take each and every number and we will divide it by 2. So in order to do that, and we are going to, after dividing it by 2, we are going to take that remainder and we will compare it with 0. So in order to do that, we will use the operation as modulus operation. So I'm going to create a variable called int result. So in that, first I'm going to use a1 of I. So a1 of I is nothing but the first index or the ith index of this for loop. So a1 of I, so modulus operation is percentage symbol 2. So what this is going to do, this particular command, it is going to divide this particular number by 2 and it is going to take that remainder and it will store it in result variable. Now our next action is, we are supposed to compare this result variable with 0. So we will use if condition for that. If result equals 0, then we will consider that number as even number. So to do that, what I am going to do is, I am going to add that number to the even number list if it is an even number. So to do that, we have a method in array list called add. So that is array list dot add. If you use that, so it will dynamically add elements to the array list. So now we are going to use the same thing. So even number list dot add, and what you are going to add here, that is the a1 of I. So a1 of I. Okay, so we are done this. So that means if the result equals 0, we are going to add that number to the even number list. So how you are going to get the odd number list then? Else, we are going to use else here. If it is not 0, then we will add that particular number to the odd number list dot add. We will use the same method, a1 of I. Okay, so now our operation is done. So what we are doing here, once we are actually dividing it and we are getting the remainder, we are comparing it with 0. If it is 0, we are going to add it to the even number list, or we are going to add it as odd number list. Now once this for loop is done, let us print both the lists so that we can see what are the numbers that are added to that particular list and what is it our expected output or not. So after this, I am going to use my print statement and I am going to give the message as even numbers are, and I am going to put that variable here as even number list. Similarly, I am going to print the odd number list also. For that, I am going to use the same command D, and I will get the same line duplicated here. I will just change the variable as odd number list, and here the message is going to be odd numbers are. Okay, so now our program is ready to execute. Before execution, we are supposed to provide this method in our main method, so that Java is going to execute this main method and in turn our complete logic will be executed. So I'm going to call this method in my main method as find even and odd numbers here. Okay, so guys, it is ready for the execution. To execute this, let us right click on this and click on run method.
So once you can see here in the console, we have got the output as even numbers are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and odd numbers are from 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15. So whatever the range that we have specified in my input array here, in that range whatever the numbers are there, it has taken each element and it has compared it with it has actually divided by 2, and it is getting the remainder and comparing it with 0. If it is equal to 0, it will add it to the even number list, else it will add it to the odd number list. So once our for loop is done, we are printing both our lists, that is even number list and odd number list, to display the output. Okay, so these are solution for today's problem statement, guys. So in order to execute this, you have to follow this particular approach. Okay, thank you, thanks for watching.